Mm.
I don't
Okay.
know how this is for you guys, but for me, I've basically spent the last 11 years of my marriage gaslighting my wife, not intentionally, but like she knows when I'm feeling something. And then I will say, nah, I'm not feeling that when I really am.
Yeah.
And so I'm gaslighting myself as much as I'm doing it to her. And so
Right.
even that, just that first step of no, I'm really like, I'm feeling bad.
I think one of the biggest problems men in particular get run into, one of the challenges is when we feel an emotion and we don't know how to express it in a healthy way, it will go back into our bodies. It'll
Mhm.
churn and it may show up in a different way. And then we go to that symptom and we say, "Oh, I've got to fix that particular problem." But it's like anything in the physical realm, the symptom isn't the problem, right?
Right.
And oftentimes there's an upstream or a downstream effect that has happened that's caused us to get symptomatic. So this is a crucial skill that takes years, if not decades, for men to identify how to identify the emotion first and foremost. And then once I identify it, where do I go from here? Talk a little bit about the process that you're going through as you're identifying these emotions. I think it's beautiful that you say, "Hey, I felt this morning. I opened myself up to it, and then nothing happened." So it
Mhm.
goes back in. But I think that opening up is like the first step. But what's the process that you're going through to understand yourself more?
So for me, there's two things that I'm doing right now that have been really interesting. One is whenever I feel something, um, I guess you can say there's three, because one is the first time I feel something, rather than putting on my stoic face and saying I don't feel it, I will communicate with my wife that it's like, I'm feeling this, especially because
Mm,
I don't
okay.
know how this is for you guys, but for me, I've basically spent the last 11 years of my marriage gaslighting my wife, not intentionally, but like she knows when I'm feeling something. And then I will say, nah, I'm not feeling that when I really am.
Yeah.
And so I'm gaslighting myself as much as I'm doing it to her. And so
Right.
even that, just that first step of no, I'm really like, I'm feeling bad. And today it was, I don't even know what this emotion is. And so the first thing is I will communicate it so she knows that where I am, and she can help me determine like, okay, we're good right now. Like the kids are good, everything's good. So like sit with this for 10 minutes and see if you can figure out what it is. Or it's like, okay, if not, then let's get through doing these things. Like you got your calls today, and then let's try and come back and and so there's a little bit of that communication that comes with it. The second thing is then sitting with it and trying to identify where I feel it in my body and what it actually feels like. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's
So
interesting for
important.
me is I start to recognize like shapes or colors, or that it sits
Mm.
in different places or things like that. And so for now, the third aspect of that is I will actually sit down and I will draw what that visualization
I
looks like,
love that.
and then even like
Yes.
write down all the different things that are
Yep.
associated with it. And like, so for example, for me, when I feel anger, it's right in my sternum, and it feels like this glowing ember that's in there, and it's almost like it's pulsating, and it feels like there's red and there's orange and there's yellow with it, and it's hot. And sometimes it feels like, how is nobody else like seeing that my chest is glowing, because it feels like it's that strong, right?